My name is Philip Puch Speyer. I was born May 30th, 1940, in Amsterdam, Netherlands.
How do you spell Speyer?
S-P-E-Y-E-R. My real last name at birth was Puch, P-A-C-H, and we'll cover the changing later on. 20 days before I was born, the Germans invaded the Netherlands, and so I was born in occupied Holland on May 30th. Several years later, when the Germans were starting to deport the Dutch Jews from Amsterdam to various concentration camps in Germany and Poland, my parents were picked up by the occupying Nazis, and at the last minute they were able to hand me to a neighbor who hid me in her coal bin. The Nazis, determined to find a child, came into their apartment and came after me at the age of 2.5 with bayonets affixed. Fortunately, they did not get me, and from that point, 3.5 days later, I was taken by students from Utrecht University to an orphanage in Utrecht. This was, by the exact definition, not an orphanage, but it was set up by two women, two heroic women, and their chief mission was to take care of Dutch women that were impregnated by German soldiers. In doing so, they took in an occasional Jewish child among the other children of these Dutch and German unions. I spent several weeks in this Kindjeshaven, as it was called. Translated, it means kids' haven. And the first 2 weeks were quite traumatic because I was still covered in this coal suit, and I was quite hysterical because of the trauma I had suffered. From that point, one of the girls that worked at this Kindjeshaven took me to her home to see if her mother, a recent widow with 4 daughters ranging in age from 9 to 18, might be interested in taking me and harboring me for the duration of the war. It, of course, was a difficult choice to make by my, as I called her, aunt, because the penalty of harboring a Jew was death. So not only my death, it would be the death of herself and her 4 young daughters. As she denied taking me in, she asked, as I was going to be taken back, what my name was. And of course my name was Philip, and that was the name of her late husband. And she said that God took one Philip and brought another. So that was the opportunity that was given to me by her, and she saved my life, and she took me in, and for the duration of the war, through various hardships. Some times when it was discovered that in fact I was Jewish because I was dark and everybody was blonde. My mother survived 13 concentration camps and was liberated from Auschwitz. My father survived, but he was suffering from extreme illnesses as a result of his having been in the camps, and he died upon liberation and was buried in a mass grave. My mother came to and found me and I was reintroduced to her in May of 1945, but of course I did not recognize her. She was a stranger to me. She was a emaciated young woman of 30, weighing 75 pounds, and it took several times for me to go back and live with her in Amsterdam. Subsequent to the war, my mother met and married Elkan Speyer, and they had a child, my half-sister, who is now almost 64, and I took on the Speyer name in that Elkan Speyer adopted me as his son, and so I have retained my real last name as a middle name. In 1953, our family decided to seek our new fortunes in America and decided to move under the auspices of some relatives that lived upstate New York. And the four of us, without knowing a word of English, came to upstate New York, Binghamton, New York, where my stepfather worked in a business where one of our sponsors was involved in. And we started to enjoy the American way of life. We all learned the language, of course the children more so than the parents, and we had a good life until my mom passed away in 1974 at the age of 69, and my stepfather a year later at the age of 72. I have 3 children. I'm presently very happily married for 20 years, have been living in Scottsdale for 18 years, before that 26 years in San Francisco, and am quite happy as a almost 71-year-old and quite active in my personal life and various physical activities and social activities with good friends, and I am embarking now upon doing some public speaking on my experiences from the Holocaust as a hidden child. And as a hidden child, we all carry a burden because we are listed as survivors, but in fact we didn't survive the Holocaust from a concentration point of view. We were hidden from that, but yet we have lost, in my case, in excess of 300 family members, leaving me with a cousin and some, scattered relatives, and of course my immediate family. This is a short, capsulized history of myself, and I think that will give you an impression of who I am. Thank you. My real father was a tailor.
Okay.
And he was a tailor and dress and suit designer.
What about your extended family? When you were growing up,
yeah,
when you were going to school?
Most of the people, when I was going to school,
yeah.
My stepfather now, he had an antique business, and then his family was involved in large, the steel business, junk, and my stepfather's cousin had the largest scrap business in the Netherlands, and so antiques and steel.
Did you notice when you were going to school in Utrecht, and did you notice anti-Semitism?
I did not go to school in Utrecht because I was a young child.
Oh, well, that's right.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that the woman that took care of me, she had this 9-year-old child that she could not tell the truth to who I was. And she made a decision that she could also not keep a 2.5-year-old child housebound for the duration. So she told this child that my parents were out of the country and would come back, after the war. So this allowed me to go out and play with children and go out about just like I was any other child. It was a huge risk that my aunt took, but it worked out.
Did you have any close calls?
Yeah, we had a close call. There was a woman in the neighborhood that found out that I was Jewish because her daughter saw, as young children do, they urinate in public a little bit, and she saw that I was circumcised, and that became a big issue, and she was determined to turn me in, and the neighbors threatened her with assassination if she took it any further. And then one time there came a knock on the door, and some Nazis were questioning if there were any motor vehicles in the family. And being a nosy 4-year-old, I came running to the door and scared my aunt to death. But the German just tousled my hair and said, "Cute kid," and left. And the other irony about close calls is that shortly before the end of the war, there was a horrific diphtheria outbreak in our little street, and we lost about 70% of the young children. And again, God looked at me favorably and let me survive.
What was your profession when you came to America and you grew up?
I went to work for one of those relatives at the age of 15 in the printing business. I worked in the shop doing odd jobs. And when I finished college, I became a printing salesman. I became sales manager of that business. And at the age of 26, I wanted to leave a small cold town of Binghamton and go into the stock and the financial arena. And I moved to San Francisco to become a stockbroker, and I did that for a number of years, and subsequently I became the manager of various financial institutions, managing branches for some of the large brokerage houses, such as the former Bache and Company, Hornblower and Weeks, and that's what I did for my career.
Wow. How did you meet your wife?
Present?
Is that too
present?
Present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we met through other friends, common friends, and we've been happily married for almost 20 years, and I have 3 children from prior marriages and 5 grandchildren, and 16, 15, 12, 11, and 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Age range.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the grandkids or your children?
Yeah,
what they are doing now?
Yeah, my oldest daughter is a high school teacher in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the next daughter is a housewife in Parkland, Florida, but she also sells jewelry on eBay. She's been doing this for 10 years, very successful.
Does she design the jewelry?
No, she buys jewelry at the right price, and then she does what people on eBay do. They mark it up somewhat, and she has, I think, 1,000 items on eBay. And she's married to a lawyer and a traffic court judge. And my 2 grandsons with that daughter, the oldest just had a bar mitzvah a couple of years ago, which he honored me at the bar mitzvah. He dedicated his bar mitzvah to me, and it was very, very emotional. And my youngest daughter, who is 40, she is a single, lives in Los Angeles, and she is in the entertainment industry. She's written a book. Has several TV shows. She's presently pitching, and at the present time is writing book number 2.
Wow, that sounds good. I can't think of any more questions. You did well.
Thank you.
You did well. Thank you.